All these stories are fictional and they are not meant to be taken seriously. They are only meant for fun, entertainment, and your overall enjoyment. If you are new here, we are doing winter stories for 10 days. It's arc 2 of our Knock Knock Winter series, where we have 3 different arcs. Each arc is 10 episodes. Today is episode 6 of the winter series arc, and if you are new here, our winter stories are usually 3 chapters, 3 short chapters. A story, obviously winter themed. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us tonight. I love you all so much, all of you besties and even new bears in our bear community. Let's begin tonight's story: The Lost Key and the Frozen Birdhouse. Chapter 1: The Quiet Cabin. Elias was a retired woodworker who lived in a small, remote cabin deep in the woods near Whispering Ridge. He was a man of quiet habits, and his favorite winter ritual was spending the morning whittling small, detailed wooden animals by the light of his single kitchen window. One morning, the light wasn't right. The sun was pale, and a fresh layer of deep cold snow covered everything. Elias wanted to fetch a special seasoned piece of birch wood from his shed, but when he checked his coat pocket, his little iron key was gone. "Oh dear," Elias murmured. "It must have dropped into the snow yesterday." He bundled up and went outside to search. The snow was too deep and powdery to see anything. He spent half an hour pushing the snow around with his boot, but the key remained hidden. Without that special wood, his morning ritual was ruined, and the day felt incomplete. As he stood sighing by his back porch, his eyes landed on an old, empty birdhouse hanging from the large oak tree. It was very high up, and the tiny wooden porch of the birdhouse was completely sealed and covered by a thick, heavy layer of ice and snow. Suddenly, he saw a glimmer of deep red color through the ice near the little porch of the birdhouse. It looked like a small piece of fabric, maybe a scrap of wool. The red color was so vivid against the white ice, it seemed out of place. And that is the end of chapter 1. So till now, what we know is an old man, a woodworker. His name is Elias. He loves to do some woodwork during winter, but he needed a specific birch wood from his shed, but he lost the shed's key, and now he saw a birdhouse hanging from a big tree, and he found like this weird red piece of fabric in the birdhouse. Let's continue with the next 2 chapters to find out what exactly happens. rosehip, the last one from a bush that grew near his shed. The bright red berry was perfectly trapped in the clear ice. Elias looked closer. He saw that the ice had not formed naturally. Someone had splashed water on the birdhouse porch with the low-hanging roof, creating a protective clear ice dome. Under the little dome of clear ice, nestled right beside the frozen rosehip, was his missing shed key. He was completely confused. Why was his key hidden in an ice dome on the birdhouse porch? He climbed down and checked his porch steps. There, he saw a tiny, almost invisible line of tracks leading away from his door toward the shed, and then a set of smaller, different tracks leading up the side of the oak tree. The tracks looked too small to be a fox or a squirrel. He realized what must have happened. The tiny winter birds he fed must have found his key in the snow near the shed. Knowing he used the key often, one of them, perhaps a thoughtful chickadee, had carried the heavy metal key all the way up to the birdhouse. The bird must have then used the cold water dripping from the roof after a partial thaw to freeze the key in a clear dome, keeping it safe and clean from the snow until Elias could see it. And that is the end of chapter 2. Honestly, Elias's explanation about the birds finding his key is way too far-fetched. Like, a bird realized the key was his and took it and like carried it to the birdhouse and then used the not fully frozen water to create a clear dome to protect it. I don't know much about birds, but are they really that smart? I mean, even some humans wouldn't think that up. Anyway, let's continue with the final chapter of our story, The Gift of the Tiny Carpenters. Elias felt a deep, warm feeling spread through him. It was a secret, quiet act of kindness from the tiniest residents of the woods. He carefully placed the warm cloth on the iced birdhouse porch. Within a few minutes, the ice melted just enough for him to retrieve his small iron key. With his key now safely back in his pocket, Elias went straight to his warm kitchen. He forgot about his woodworking plans for a moment. He quickly poured a cup of coffee and sliced a piece of his rich, fruit-filled cake. He then went to the woodshed and didn't take out the birch wood. Instead, he took out small, smooth pieces of pine and a tiny brass hinge. He spent the entire morning quietly working on a new project, a brand new, luxurious, double-decker bird feeder with a wide roof and a large deep-sea tray. By the time the early winter sun began to set, he hung the new feeder on the strongest branch of the oak, filling the tray completely with the best seeds and nuts he had saved. Elias sat back down by his kitchen window. The sun guys enjoyed the story.